Welcome to Shadowed Realms, unveiling the dark lore. A deep dive into the hidden depths of video games, movies, and anime where light rarely dares to venture. From the cryptic symbolism of a haunted video game world to the twisted backstories of iconic characters, we'll analyze the dark narratives that shape these immersive universes. Expect a mix of thoughtful analysis, historical context, and an occasional deep dive into the psychological and philosophical themes that these stories explore. But this series isn't just about the spooky surface level stuff. We'll also look to the cultural and psychological and artistic reasons why these dark themes resonate with audiences and what they say about us as people. Buckle up, because these things are about to get creepy and maybe even a little introspective. Are you ready to step into the shadows? Let's go. Welcome to Myth and Lores, a journey into the dark and divine. Without further ado, let's jump into another lore. Claymore is a dark fantasy anime and manga by Nohiro Yagi set in a medieval world plagued by Yoma, monstrous creatures that feed on humans. To combat these beings, a mysterious organization creates Claymores, hybrid warriors who are part human, part Yoma. Wielding enormous swords, these women are feared and revered for their power, but they must constantly struggle to maintain their humanity. The tragic fate of Claymores. Claymores are all female because early attempts at creating male warriors failed. Men were more prone to losing control and transforming into awakened beings, super powerful Yoma mutations. The organization recruits young girls, often orphans, and forcibly implants Yoma flesh into them, effectively cursing them to a life of battle. If they overuse their Yoki energy, which is demonic energy, they risk awakening and becoming the monsters they were meant to fight. The organization's cruel secrets. The organization is a secretive, emotionless governing body that treats Claymores as disposable weapons. It conducts horrifying experiments, including creating abyssal ones, near godlike awakened beings that pose an even greater threat. It's implied that the organization isn't just fighting Yoma, it might even be controlling them to maintain its power. The abyssal ones and awakened beings. When Claymores surpass their limits, they awaken, transforming into grotesque yet mighty creatures. Some of the most fearsome awakened beings include Priscilla, a former Claymore whose awakening makes her nearly unstoppable. She slaughters the protagonist, Claire's mentor Teresa. Isley, Ridful, and Lucilla, abyssal ones who rule over different regions, locked in a terrifying power struggle. Teresa and Claire's bond. The core tragedy of Claymore. Teresa, one of the strongest Claymores, defies the organization rules by protecting a young girl, Claire, and instead killing a human village of bandit humans. Her growing attachment to Claire leads to her execution at the hands of Priscilla, a young Claymore who loses control and awakens. This traumatic event shapes Claire's entire life. She willingly undergoes the Claymore transformation solely to avenge Teresa. The symbolism of the Claymore journey. Claymores are ultimately tragic figures. They are bound to the path of self-destruction, knowing that their only fates are death, awakening, or execution by their comrades. The story explores themes of identity, vengeance, and the struggle against one's monstrous nature. Teresa, of the faint smile, is one of the most tragic and beloved characters in Claymore. Her story powerfully explores innocence lost, the consequences of power, and the ultimate price of humanity. She is one of the most powerful Claymores ever, and one of the few who remain human in the face of overwhelming darkness. Let's dive into her story, transformation, and legacy. Teresa's origins. The gifted, but tragic prodigy. Teresa's past is shrouded in mystery, and little is known about her life before becoming a Claymore. Although she is described as extremely young, it's clear she was recruited into the organization at a very young age, likely due to her exceptional natural talent. Teresa wasn't simply powerful, she was a genius of combat. This made her a legend even among the other Claymores, as her skills were practically unmatched, earning her the title of number 1. While the details of her early life aren't given, it's strongly implied that she was an orphan like most Claymores and was brought into the organization at a tender age. She underwent the painful and horrific procedure of having Yoma cells implanted into her body, turning her into a half-human and half-Yoma hybrid. Teresa was known for her unprecedented control over her Yoki, which sets her apart from most of the other Claymores. Even though she was a hybrid, she had the rare ability to wield immense power without losing her humanity, a trait most other Claymores lost as they became powerful. She also could use her Yoki in ways that others couldn't, enhancing her speed, strength, and precision in combat to an almost supernatural level. Teresa's transformation from a ruthless killer to a protector. Despite her unmatched power, Teresa had an interesting philosophy about her role as a Claymore. Unlike many of her peers who were hardened by constant fighting and the gruesome nature of their work, Teresa was somewhat emotionally detached from the senseless killing. She was known for having a calm and composed demeanor, always smiling faintly, which earned her the title of Teresa of the Faint Smile. This starkly contrasted the often bitter and emotionally scarred Claymores around her. The turning point. Teresa's life took a significant turn when she encountered a young human girl named Claire, who would eventually become the series' main protagonist. After Teresa's routine mission to kill a Yoma in the village, she was tasked with eliminating a Yoma-infested family. When Teresa discovered that the girl, Claire, had survived the attack, she chose to spare her, an act of mercy that defied the organization's rigid rules. This decision would become the beginning of Teresa's transformation. After sparing Claire, Teresa began to feel a bond of protective love for the girl, which she had long suppressed. She even started to think of Claire as a surrogate daughter, a sentiment that softened her otherwise indifferent personality. She took Claire with her, and for a time, they traveled together, with Teresa acting as her guardian. Defying the organization's cold, pragmatic views, choosing to show mercy was the beginning of a shift in Teresa's character. The tragic end, Priscilla's awakening, and Teresa's death. Unfortunately, Teresa's act of compassion would cost her everything. Her humanity, what made her unique among the Claymores, became her undoing. The event that led to Teresa's death was the awakening of a young Claymore named Priscilla. Priscilla, one of the up-and-coming young Claymores, was a childlike, somewhat naive warrior who revered Teresa but was deeply affected emotionally by Teresa's decision to disobey the organization. However, during a mission, Priscilla's emotions got the better of her in combat with Teresa, and she began to lose control of her Yoki. Despite Teresa's attempts to guide and calm her, Priscilla's awakening process took over. She transformed into a monstrous awakened being, one of the most powerful and dangerous. In the end, Priscilla, now an abyssal one, was too powerful for even Teresa to defeat. When Priscilla lost control completely, she killed Teresa with a single, devastating blow, resulting in one of the most emotional and tragic moments of the series. When Teresa let her guard down, Priscilla struck, severing her head from her body. Teresa's death was not just the end of a mighty warrior, but the destruction of the last vestige of pure humanity among the Claymores. Claire, who witnessed Teresa's brutal death at the hands of Priscilla, swore to avenge her mentor and adoptive mother. Her quest for revenge would become the driving force behind her journey, and Teresa's death haunted her every decision. Through this loss, Claire would eventually become a Claymore herself, carrying a piece of Teresa's legacy with her in every battle. That concludes this lore. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next lore. Bye.